Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the SlabStox and 1:37 p.m. market report. We are here to review the month of January. We are already in February. We're like coming up on spring. Spring training starts in like a week and a half. I'm gonna be down in Florida in a couple weeks when the Mets and the Astros have their first preseason game, like a spring training game. So I'm gonna try to go to that, which will be exciting.
I mean, that's a pretty big game with Verlander going to the Mets too now.
Yeah, but he's probably not gonna play.
Well,
you know,
I know,
like
but a little bit of animosity from you. You just said that you hate Verlander now.
Yeah, I do hate Verlander now. It's really unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Guy wins you a title and then he leaves. See you later. Aaron, tell everyone how you're feeling. Give me the update. And then let's get into the report.
I'm feeling good. I got to say, a little bit of apologies for the lateness on this episode and the report compared to normal. I was in London and France for about 14 days. So
how was that?
It's a great time. Excellent time. Went to 5 soccer matches. Had a blast. Sorry about the bark there. But it was super fun. Got to connect with a bunch of collectors. Connected with Tosin, who is a Tyler and Ryan's guy as well.
Nice.
And
not my guy, apparently.
Not well. You weren't there, so. No, it was a fun time. But I'm super excited to be talking about the report today. As always, 137pm.com is where to read it. Pretty powerful report this time because there's a big take one to talk about. So Lou, whenever you're ready, I mean, we can jump in and get discussing.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So to start with, we got a pretty big announcement here. I'm really excited to get into it with you. I will let you lead the way.
Absolutely. So take one in this report, the very first thing you'll read is about the SlabStox 100 index, the SX100. I think we mentioned this in past episodes, definitely past reports in the conclusion that was on the way. We spent many months going through tons of different cards, talking to tons of different collectors, getting feedback, insights, why some people thought that, you know, viewers and readers out there would maybe pick it apart and say it's not worth it, or why, you know, people would enjoy this and actually use it as a functional thing in the hobby. If you scroll down a bit, Lou, we can get to the start of the SX100 where we talk about what this is. So, you know, for those that follow maybe the stock market or financial indexes, you know that, you know, like S&P 500 is taking 500 companies based on different criteria. And it's, you know, creating something you can track to see how the market's moving. Now, it's much, much, much more difficult for cards. And we really clearly state that, like, hey, we know this is not a financial index. We're not trying to make this a financial index. We're trying to turn this into a modern, community-driven sports card index that people can come to, read about each month, discuss online. Even, like, you know, people are obviously going to have, you know, problems with some of the cards in here. Feel free to critique it. We want to hear feedback on this for sure, either social media comments on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And then at the same time, the whole idea behind this is making this an index driven not only for the hobby, but by the hobby. And every quarter, we will be doing a survey on this through our Daily Slab newsletter that you can subscribe to for free on SlabStox.com, where we will send out a survey, and there will be different cards in here that will go up for a vote, and there will be a threshold that needs X amount of percent of votes to kick out a card from the index and put a new one in. So we will have, you know, maybe up to 10 every quarter flipping out, but that's up to 10. I doubt it'll be even close to 10 based on it'll be a pretty high threshold to vote a card out. So that's the idea behind it. And Lou, you can go ahead and, you know, start asking questions. And there's a few different, like in this article, it's got every card in the original SlabStox 100. So 137bm.com, go look at it to see all the cards. And Lou, go ahead and start.
Yeah, I'll scroll down just so we can start taking a look at the individual cards. I know we're not going to go through every single one here.
Should probably hit the criteria first.
Yeah, let's talk about the criteria as well, and then I'll start asking questions.
So 4 things really determined, you know, how can a card be in this index? And every 3 months when we review it, it has to be within this threshold to stay in the index. Otherwise, the card will automatically be kicked out. So must be an active player. So Tom Brady just retired. There's no Brady in this index. Serena Williams, you know, retired. No Serena Williams, even though she's a GOAT. You must be an active player. Aaron Rodgers is probably a year or two out from now being out of this. And the card cannot be valued more than $11,000. Lose, like, why $11,000? And for us, we wanted to make sure that this index wasn't all $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 cards, where for the normal everyday collector, either small budget or big budget, even it's hard to get to those cards. So we want to make sure it's, you know, around that $10,000 or lower mark. But there's only one card that's even upwards of 11K, which is the LeBron card in here, and that's right at 10,000. Cards must sell at least 2 times every 3 months. So, or in the last 2 months from when we do our review. And we want to make sure these cards are moving. We don't want a card sitting here for 6 months with no change in value because then the index doesn't change. And then population of 5,000 or lower for specific grid represented. Once you start to get above that, there's just way too many of them out there. And honestly, most of these cards don't even get towards 5,000. It's really just a Young Guns PSA 10s for hockey, which is why it's around 5,000 because McDavid's is like 3,800, but they still buy and sell all the time. Very high value. It's a very coveted card.
Yep. Yeah, I think the cool part, like my initial reaction when I first saw this was like something we talk about constantly online and offline is like there's always like your hobby darlings, right? There's the guys and girls who are the people are talking about the most, people are defending or going after the most. Like there's always going to be a guy every year who everyone gets obsessed with, and it's fun to track those players. So this is almost like a pulse on the hobby and like what the hobby thinks overall, which is interesting and doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be positive, pointing upwards. It probably most likely won't be, but
except for the last month, it's been interesting.
The last month, yes, but I think it's interesting where it's like when everyone gets into a player, right? Like that player most likely will be in this index come around for the next survey. So I'm excited to watch that. And then as far as like the more expensive cards, I do think you made the right decision. I was just curious. I thought 11 was random and funny. Because what happens with the high end stuff is like it's in a league of its own and it's like too expensive and like it's not as prone to the price changes that everything else is prone to. So it's better to be the less expensive stuff.
And sometimes it's so drastic when the stuff moves too. Either it's like plus $10,000 or minus $10,000. It's
and you're talking about losing like 40 to 60% sometimes on one auction.
Yeah, we've highlighted that in previous videos too, on the high end stuff. So I'm glad you pointed that out. We want to make sure this, people reading this, like, hey, that's a card I could actually have in my collection. It's a card that I'm selling next month, something like that.
I'm going to show the cards.
Here we go. So
right now, talk through this part right here.
Yeah, so the very first thing it actually shows is it shows the breakdown of this index by volume of cards in each sport, and then by the dollars at the time we publish this. So the dollars can change very easily. The volume will stay static unless we get a lot of reviews in our survey that says like, hey, like why in the world is hockey 2 times as much as F1? Now, in my opinion, it should be. In our opinion, it should be. But basically, this chart just shows you that basketball, baseball, football all have 25 cards each. Soccer has 11 cards. Hockey has 8. And then other is between Formula 1 and golf right now. But if there's a lot of, people that want to see like a UFC fighter in here, take into consideration, put it up against a vote to maybe kick out like Lando Norris or something like that.
Yep.
Other is going to be very fluid. The 5 above that, that's static. Like those are going to be in there. Hockey, soccer, football, baseball, basketball are the most collected sports. And then Formula 1 and golf and UFC and all these other ones kind of fall into the, the other category. Dollars right now, basketball is the highest, then baseball and football, then soccer, hockey, other. I think that kind of makes sense for a lot of people who collect looking at that. You can maybe argue.
Can I make a suggestion for F1? Can we get Logan Sargent in there since he's going to be like out here every week?
That's the thing. I mean, we could, but the problem is that 1, cards have to be slabbed. 2, we have to have solid sales history.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no sales on slab.
All right, so give it a few months and then we'll get Logan in there.
If enough people vote Lando Norris out for Logan Sargent or something like that,
I'm stuffing the ballot boxes. We're getting Logan Sargent in the F1 index. All right, so go through the 100 a little bit high level, and then I'll start asking some more questions.
Yeah, so like basketball, what you see here is you see a lot of Prism Silvers for certain players. A lot of the criteria fit for them, and honestly, some of them are more rare than others. Like Devin Booker, more rare than let's say a Jason Tatum. But really, the thought here was kind of grouping players into categories. You've got like the GOAT stats, like LeBron, who's like the highest value player. So if his card moves 20%, it'll move the index more than let's say Trae Young's card moves 20% up in value. And then you've got the next category, which is like the Curry, and then you've got the Durant's, the Jokic's, the Giannis, all on the level playing field. Luka is in the mix there too. And then you've got the next category down where it's like Tatum, Ja Morant, Embiid, Zion Williamson, LaMelo. Trying to take into account that players are in more demand than others to where we don't want Pascal Siakam making this index for basketball increase like a ton because he had a great game when like, Embiid and Ja Morant and Tatum, their market caps and their collectability and discussion around those players are much higher than Pascal Siakam. So that's why there's differences in value. But I have to say, this is a subjective thing. Like you might be sitting here and say, Aaron, you're an idiot that your team decided that Jokic's card should be more valuable than Luka's in this index. Now, Jokic is back-to-back MVP winner. It makes sense to me. Silver PSA 10s more than Luka's because of the population difference. But if you have a gripe like that, in our survey that's going out mid-March, we are going to have people that will let us know, like, hey, if we have 10 replies that have Jokic's card should be less valuable than Luka's in the survey, okay, we'll look at it and we'll do a vote on that in our final survey for the first quarter. So stuff like that's open season, right? Like we know people are gonna have problems with certain players ranked higher than others.
Mm-hmm. And for like, is there more or less players in individual, like is baseball, there are less baseball players in here?
No,
than
baseball's 25 also. The reason why baseball is split up is because there's just so many words on the graphic because it prospect, autograph,
respect.
All that.
Yep.
I just couldn't fit it all into one graphic. So there's 25 baseball players too. Baseball players, we really
got the AL MVP on there.
What do you say?
Got the AL MVP on there.
Yeah, exactly. So we really tried to get as many Bowman Chrome autographs in here as possible because that's the most collected thing for baseball, and really most discussed too when it comes to it. Now, like Ohtani, there's some challenges with having multiple different Bowman Chrome autograph rookies, 2 different poses. So we went with the Sapphire rookie PSA 10, based on the value playing field and stuff like that. So, and as you'll see, there's some that are like refractor out of 499 PSA 9 versus base autographs. A lot of it has to do with the valuations of each player and where our team, mostly SlabStox Nate, decided to put these players. In some cases, you'll see a prospect like Jordan Walker who is going to affect the index more than Nolan Arenado right now.
I was going to say that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, so I went to Nate and I was like, Nate, do you think that we should just use active MLB players or get prospects involved? He's like, no, we have to get prospects involved. Yeah, that's such a big part of the market. Like to not have prospect involved in this, it's kind of ignoring the market. And to be honest, the market does say that in some scenarios, high value prospects or high potential prospects are worth more than your Freddie Freemans who have won MVPs, Yeah. So like we were trying to take into account that, like we say on all these things, if you have a gripe, let us know in the survey. Like that's what the survey's for. It's to be, really drive this as you all want from here. We just kind of put the groundwork in and want you all to determine. So
what was the rationale for doing Jordan Walker as a PSA 9, but you have Ohtani as a PSA 10?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Like when you have Jordan Walker's PSA 10 autograph, it's $1,500. In our mind, we didn't think that it'd be worth having Jordan Walker's PSA 10 auto outweighing this index more than the likes of Ronald Acuna Jr., Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Wander Franco, Vlad Guerrero Jr. So because we can't weight these things by percentages, like we can't go like Jordan Walker PSA 10 auto, let's weight this.
You have to go to a lower priced asset.
We actually have to pick a lower price card, which we point out in the challenges right at the top. It's like accounting for differences in value between players. In some cases, choosing different cards or grades. And that's why you see different grades, different cards. It's to get the values be able to change and affect the index differently without being able to price weight them. A lot of that has to do with we don't have, not necessarily us, but, talk to Chris from Card Ladder. And that's how they do their CL50 also, is because we don't have the volume changes, Lou, of population over time to match the price changes over time. We can't weight these things because we don't have the volumes for the all-time history.
That's interesting.
Volumes, PSA grade population, the different grading companies started to get tracked by Card Ladder, I think 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, not 3 years ago, because that information is not public. It has to literally do with tracking each day as cards get added to the population report, which is what they do now for the last couple of years.
Interesting.
Yes, sir.
Adley, Marcelo Mayer. What's up with Marcelo Mayer? I feel like I've been hearing about him like every day for the last 2 years, and
I mean, he
should be up this year a little bit, right? I think.
I don't know about that. I'm not, the baseball guy.
We gotta get Nate on here next week to talk about next month to talk about baseball.
Oh, we will have Nate on here, especially with spring training here. Baseball season. It's gonna be a big baseball highlight.
It'll be in full swing by that point.
Oh, 100%. 100. Well, spring training will be not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's going at that point with all the players are back and everything. So
definitely.
All right, let me just scroll through these football ones real quick. Football. Tyreek Hill, interesting decision. Kirk Cousins, beast.
So the way that we came up with the football, let me explain this, Lou, and maybe you'll have some questions from there. We didn't want to choose all quarterbacks or 25 players, right? Because when you do 25 players, all quarterbacks, you're going to include dudes like Mac Jones. And I don't think Mac Jones deserves to be in here yet. He was terrible this year. Absolutely dreadful. Like 29th in the league in QBR.
Garbanzo.
Like yeah. So what we did was we took 15 quarterbacks, 5 wide receivers, 5 running backs. That gets to 25. Skill position players are starting to get traded higher now than they were 3 years ago. I feel like they deserve a spot. And we basically took players like we could have included Devontae Adams, but the problem with Devontae Adams is that his cards from 2014, they just don't sell as frequently or aren't as collected as like even Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase. Because people want the new guys, right? Like unless you're a huge Packer fan or Raider fan, I don't know how many people are going to be buying and selling Devontae Adams based on his value going forward, in my mind. And maybe, like I said, maybe you have a gripe about that. Maybe you're like, no, Devontae Adams is way better than Jalen Waddle. He should be in here. Let us know in the survey. So we went with basically Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill as the 5 wide receivers. And for the 5 running backs, it was Saquon, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, who I think will have a massive bounce back this year. I'm a Badger fan, though. Christian McCaffrey.
The Colts are so bad.
What do you say?
The Colts are so bad.
They are bad, but if they get a QB in the door, you never know. Maybe another like Derek Carr or another like retread like Derek Carr. Christian McCaffrey, and then the last running back on the list was, am I missing one? Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey, Barkley. Derrick Henry. Sorry, Derrick Henry is the last running back on the list.
Yeah.
So
it would be cool to include a defensive guy in this. I know that's harder because the volume is lower, but
that's the difficult part is that I also thought, man, Aaron Donald, like he was a guy I was looking at to include in here instead of maybe like Jonathan Taylor, who was hurt all of last year. So if you all really think, and you're listening to this, and you're a passionate football fan collector, like, hey, it's so dumb that you have Nick Chubb in here, a $55 base PSA 10, when Aaron Donald should be represented in here. And like Jay's saying too, Sauce Gardner. The problem with Sauce,
that was the guy I was going to suggest.
There's not enough cards graded of him yet to justify being included in here. Same with Geno Smith. Geno Smith probably deserves to be in here more than at least one of the quarterbacks on this list, you know, because of how Lamar. Well, I don't know about that based on collectibility. I would. See, but there's a big problem with Geno Smith, man. His graded card values, they don't happen enough. They don't fit the criteria is a problem.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, but if more people start buying, selling, and grading them, then sure, you know, Geno Smith can make it in here. So there's obviously room for improvement. Room for improvement. There's room for suggestions. Lou, any thoughts on football? So
when you send out the survey, right, are you going to say, hey, here's the 15 new people who qualify for this?
So what's here, just to break down the surveys a little bit more. So mid-March, we are going to send out a survey. It's going to be like more of an open-ended survey. It's going to be like, hey, what's your biggest problem with an index like the football thing, let's say? So we'll get like people's biggest gripes. But then also it's like, if you had one player that's missing from this list, who is it? We'll try to get the most players that are requested to be in this thing, choose a card based on that, and then put it up against a vote with the players that are most. Yeah. So then the next question would be like, who do you think shouldn't be in here? And Lou might be like, there's no reason why Tua should be in here. He didn't play 6 of the games last year, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If 15 players say Tua, or 15 people say Tua, we'll put the card that's most requested to be in here up in a vote against Tua, or the most requested to be kicked out at the end of the month. And then we'll get the information here for the April report, or the report that comes out in April based on 2 surveys, one open-ended, one where it's actually going to be like yes or no questions, have to hit a certain percentage to be entered in. I don't have that percentage yet. I'll have it by the time that the survey will go out, though. I know that much.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. I'm interested to see how that works out. I think it'll evolve over time for sure.
It will evolve over time, everyone. Yeah, the biggest thing for us was we don't want to be perfect to start. We just had to get it going. It's difficult to get
that's how it always is.
Going. So that was the idea. Soccer, we got 11 cards in soccer. It's 11 because we've got Alex Morgan in there as well. So there's 10 players that play, you know, in the top 5 domestic leagues in Europe. And well, yeah, I mean, I guess Cristiano Ronaldo now is not in top 5 league, but either way, we've got 10 soccer players in their men's, and then Alex Morgan with the World Cup 2023 women's coming up. I believe it's this year. And Alex Morgan being one of the most notable and active players from U.S. women's history, we thought we had to include it for sure. Now,
this will be the one that gets edited the most, I think. I think this is going to change constantly.
Soccer?
Mm-hmm. As someone who's like kind of outside looking in on this stuff, I feel like every time I talk to somebody, it's like there's 4 new 13-year-olds who are out of control in the next coming of
definitely. And there, there's 13 or 11 cards on this list, so like there's an argument, and we took a little bit to discuss internally, like, bro, does Pedri deserve to be on there over Gavi, different stuff like that. I really do think that there will be like a player flipping in and out every single report. Now we did make it excuse me, that only one card in soccer can be flipped out every 3 months, so it's not like we'll see like 5 new cards in here by next report. Only at most 10. With
why is that?
So if you scroll up really quick, It's based on the volume. It's based on the volume of cards that are in here for each sport. So,
I understand. We don't have to go through it again. You already explained it. Sorry.
all right, 2 basketball, 2 baseball, 2 football, 1 soccer, 1 hockey, and then 2 other can be flipped out.
Okay, hockey real quick, and then F1.
Yeah, so hockey, pretty self-explanatory here. Honestly, these are basically the top market caps for young guns
Makes
out
sense.
there. Ovechkin, McDavid, Crosby, Austin Matthews, 4 biggest. Then McCarr, McKinnon, Jason Robertson, and Kirill Kaprizov, the 2 younger prospects. The reason or the biggest gripe with this is someone going to be saying, why is Nathan McKinnon in here, not David Pastrnak, the Bruins player right now? That was tough to decide, mostly because McKinnon just won the cup. I thought this isn't necessarily being created on the exact now moment, this index. I think we have to take into account more than just like a single season that's happening this second, which is why Christian Pulisic is in here also. And I think that McKinnon could get voted out for Pastrnak very easily. But also the other thing about Pastrnak is that his population is so low on his Young Guns PSA 10. If he chooses PSA 10, it's $1,000 or more now, puts it on the same playing field as Austin Matthews, even though the market cap is far, far lower. So most likely a PSA 9 would have to be picked for Pastrnak to be in here. But there's it could get voted out very easily with McKinnon. But
you know what I'm sitting here thinking about right now? Because again, like I'm aware of hockey. Like I watch hockey, like I would say once every 2 weeks, and I kind of have an awareness of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The SlabStox 100 is going to be a good way for me to catch up on like who's hot.
Yeah,
because unless I'm scrolling Instagram and I happen to see one of your posts, I wouldn't know like that about David Pastrnak. I really would have no idea. I just know he has a cool nickname. That's it. Pasta.
No, he's doing great this year. The Bruins are the best team in the NHL. So yeah, I mean, there's I would say if you're a passionate hockey fan listening to this right now, you better be ready to vote David Pastrnak into this because I need a reason to get him in there.
Oh man,
so give me a reason.
And now our favorite. I'm fired up. By the way, we're back.
You're back. You're back with F1.
We're back.
I just ripped 2 cases last night with the new Sapphire.
I have to lock in on the new stuff. I have to see what's happening. But
it's a nice set. It's a nice set.
They look nice. I did see the cards. I'm excited for the season of F1. But get into this real quick.
I'm very excited as well. So this is F1/other. Basically, right now it's F1 and golf. So we have 5 F1 drivers in here. It's the highest value refracted PSA 10s, going from Lewis to Max to George to Charles to Lando. Those, by far and away, you ask any F1 collector, the 5 most desired and collected drivers. Lou, would you agree?
150,000%.
Okay, I don't think there's much debate up for there.
No.
Now, this gets interesting because we include Tiger Woods because he has not retired yet. He's still actively playing on the tour and trying to make tournaments. If he retires it easily, we'll give voted down, and some new other card will have to enter into here. We chose his SI rookie PSA 8. I think there's way too many. There's way too many to include the 2001 Upper Deck thing. Like that's like a 12,000 pop card. It doesn't even fit the criteria. But as for the F1 drivers, there's a chance that Lando would get voted out, and it could be for a UFC card. It could be for a tennis card. It could be for anything that people really want to see in here. It also could be for Logan Sargent if his Sapphire PSA 10 or refractored PSA 10 gets graded enough and gets sold enough. So
that was my question. Does this have to be an F1/other section, or can it be like anything, right? Like let's say F1 just falls off the map. No one cares anymore. Whatever. It's all gone. Are you going to put Luke Skywalker and Livy Dunn in here?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So the reason why it is F1/other is because I want to be cognizant, and to me, I love it. I know you like it a lot. Yes. It's like I always want F1 in here, but let's just say, like you said, F1 dies in 2 years.
No one cares.
I don't want to make it so that 5 F1 cards have to be in here if the general collecting base doesn't like it. I'll still like it, but I don't want to make it that has to be that way. Now, the thing is that we are making this a sports index, right? We're not going to have Stranger Things cards in here. We're not going to have Pokemon cards in here. We're not going to have Luke Skywalker in here. Maybe if people really let us know, like there's like an overwhelming majority of people, exactly as we're saying, this is for the hobby, that say, hey, that's a miss. You should have some non-sports in here in the other category. We'll consider it. So let us know if you're really passionate about it. For me, I love non-sports, so I kind of want to see it, but I think it's easiest to start with just sports. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this can be Frisbee golf. If Frisbee golf gets super popular, and there's great cards of that.
We had somebody who won Play of the Week with Anna Lee Waters from Pickleball. You get Anna Lee Waters in here.
Pickleball, exactly. So literally, this is open. 6 cards can be other. Like if people don't,
this is gonna be the most fun one.
It should be fun because we could see some crazy stuff entering into this if enough people want to talk about it and see it.
Yep, this is cool. This is fun, Aaron. This is a good idea.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's the goal, right? It's supposed to be a fun thing. It's supposed to be an entertaining thing. It's supposed to be a collecting driven thing. And
Conversational. It's not like the most scientific thing of all time.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand that not everyone buys a Prism Silver PSA 10 of Luka, but I guarantee you that a lot of people buy and sell Luka cards that their values are affected because of how the PSA 10 Silver moves. We can't choose all these random cards to be in here because then there's no standards. There's nothing that's related to each other. So I even myself, I don't own a single card in the SlabStox 100, which I think is better too. I think a lot of people have problems if indexes are created. Let's say I owned every single card in this 100. A lot of people would have big problems with that. I own none. I mean, maybe I own, let's say like, I don't, but let's just say I had like a Topps Chrome Bundesliga Erling Haaland orange out of 25. I don't have that, by the way. Then I'd have a variation.
He does not own it. He does not own it.
I'd have a variation, but I don't have the refractor PSA 10. And then I guess I'd say like I have cards of these players, but here's the deal: these are the top 100 collected stuff. Like I have a Jude Bellingham autograph, right? But like that's not a Sapphire Bundesliga PSA 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to make it the best, funnest thing for the collecting community is really what it came down to.
It's
most
dope.
fun. I don't know.
Let's get into the rest of the report. Most fun is right, I think.
All right. All right.
So you have your big pictures here.
Yeah, big picture. Read about it in the report for sure. We already talked about the survey. We can scroll down and get into some other stuff and be probably a little bit quicker with that.
What's next? So you want to go into NFL playoffs?
Yeah, how about you just lead it off and really just give me your biggest gripe with this section?
I mean, it's not necessarily a gripe, right? Because I think, as always, this report is just a function of what is happening in the market and what's happening. So I think Brock Purdy was obviously the biggest story of the playoffs. He is now going to have to get Tommy John or something like that, they were saying, because he's a torn UCL.
Potentially.
Which is brutal. He's going to be gone for like a really long time. Who knows?
They say 6 months. They say he could be back by next season.
Yeah, but like they have Trey Lance, so I don't really know what's going to happen with that. And then you have Jalen Hurts, and I'll let you talk about the individual, and if you want to go into the blurs. But my number one takeaway when scrolling through this morning was that there's no Patrick Mahomes here, who is, I mean, it's Thursday afternoon, 1:45. I feel comfortable saying my pick for the Super Bowl will be the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy's going to win another Super Bowl. So like, it's crazy that he is not in this right now, but I will let you speak to it.
So I'll say this: Patrick Mahomes will probably be in the next report, the February report, when the Super Bowl actually happens and is done. But you're right; there is no Mahomes in this report, which I think is pretty representative of how the dialogue has been of Mahomes and the Chiefs for the last 3 years. I think everyone is constantly looking for something different, kind of like it was with Luka for a time. Lou,
and Giannis, by the way, it was happening with Giannis
and Giannis too. It's like there's so much discussion, and like everyone knows that he is the guy. So we got to have something else to talk about, something else to get excited about. And you can see how these prices are moving with like Hurts and Purdy and Burrow. Even Burrow, when he got back to potentially another Super Bowl this year, his stuff was, increasing in price. Lawrence as well. Now, to say that Mahomes stuff hasn't done a little bit better is probably false. I know some of those cards have been moving in the right direction with him playing really well, probably winning MVP this year, getting to the next Super Bowl. But to be completely honest, I mean, so much of the bigger movement was in other players. Because there's just so many Mahomes out there, and there's so many people that collect Mahomes. And
while we're here, real quick, I just searched up Mahomes. 2017 select Patrick Mahomes field level silver PSA 10 is up 20% in the last 3 months.
Yeah,
18%. Sorry.
What about the last month though? Because most of this is based off of since the start of December. So
for the last 2 months, then, right?
Yeah,
you can only do 1 month or 3 months, but it's 6% this month.
Okay, so that's still probably not as much as these other guys that had like
definitely
a nice game. But I think that also speaks, Lou, to maybe the problem with the market too, because I guarantee when we look at this Trevor Lawrence will probably be down like 30% in the next month. But that won't happen with Mahomes,
It could happen. It did happen with Mahomes, right? Like when they were losing at the beginning of the season, the cards like cratered or whatever. But you're right. It's just a larger, and we talk about it every month, but it's just a larger just a reality of the marketplace. Like people get bored really fast. And I saw a statement, and obviously I'm going to be biased towards this because it's my squad, but like someone said the Chiefs are like the Astros of the NFL. And it's kind of true. Like they're just continually one of the best teams year after year after year.
5 straight AFC championship games, I think, right?
It's the exact same thing with the Astros, like 6 straight ALCSs and 3 of 5 World Series. And same thing with the Chiefs, right? So it is crazy how, and it happened with LeBron, and I was thinking about it a lot the other night when I was watching his game. Did you watch that game live?
I did. I watched, like the last
Wasn't it
recording.
fun? I feel like it was the first time we ever had like a really, truly historic moment happen in our generation. Like that's a 45-year-old NBA record. Like that's a big deal.
I think it's less than 45, but it's like 30 something. But still,
Whatever.
it's a long time. That's a long time to have a record, especially with how many great players came after Kareem. I'd agree. That's probably
MJ and Kobe.
that's probably the biggest record that's been broken in my lifetime.
100%. And so it was crazy watching that. And I was just thinking about all the times year after year LeBron should have been MVP and he didn't win MVP just because it was like LeBron fatigue. And I think it's happening with like Jokic this year a little bit too. People are talking about Jokic not winning the MVP, and it's like, what are we talking about? He's obviously the best player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's ever averaged a triple double shooting over 60% from the floor. I think he's like 65% from the floor and like a triple double right now. And they're the 1 seed in the West too, which is the most important part. Like when Westbrook had the triple double, they were like the 7 or 8 seed. He's the Nuggets are the 1 seed because of Jokic and how well he's playing.
They are the best team in the NBA, one of the best teams in the NBA, solely because of Jokic.
Yeah, I'd have to say the Bucks are only really good because of Giannis. I mean, okay, Drew and Chris are nice players, but the Nuggets have a really good roster. Let's not.
And he was a second-round pick. That completely threw away my thing I was saying about second-round picks before.
Yeah, he was, but he also, it was kind of like the Nets. You know how the Nets, like you're saying, the Nets are trying to go after the international guys. He was an international guy picked in 2014, but he didn't even debuted until 2015.
Yeah. All right, stay on topic. Sorry, NFL.
Yeah.
Keep going.
We'll see. Super Bowl happen. We'll figure out if Mahomes cards do rise or if they fall, because sometimes that's what happens too. Now, someone that did fall.
You want to talk about this guy a little bit? Because I
know you don't like this guy at all, but I have to say, first episode of the NFL season when we sat here, you were really excited about Josh Allen's cards, not from like a you collecting standpoint. I just remember you said his cards were going to go parabolic, which they did for probably like 2 weeks. But ever since then, man, turnover machine. What is it, like most of the NFL?
Most of the NFL, yeah.
Yeah.
Since he's come into the league, he has the most turnovers in the NFL.
Since 2018.
When he got drafted.
That's crazy. Well, yeah, it definitely hurt his prices and getting eliminated by the Bengals once again. No, he got eliminated by the Chiefs last year, but Bengals this year, not good for the prices. And they were at home too. Down 43% on the Prism Silver PSA 10 auto since the start of December. That's not that long to drop 43%, $2,000 plus.
Crazy. And I think Josh is an example of when everyone just attaches themselves to a player too fast. I think everyone just decided that he was going to start becoming an MVP candidate or an MVP perennially, and the Bills were going to be in the Super Bowl all the time, and that's just not the case.
So I feel like every year, like when like the predictions come out for like the new
season, always Josh Allen.
This year it was everyone was picking the Bills to win the Super Bowl, but it was like it's not even close. It's like it easily can be close. This is the NFL we're talking about. Like it easily, and it was close, and now they're out, and he's not MVP for sure. So you see what happens when that happens. The rhetoric changes.
Yeah, I do think, but guess what? We're sitting here again on February 9th. On June 24th, the number one conversation topic in the NFL will be, is Josh Allen going to be the MVP?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe prices rise by that point.
Yeah.
Last thing for football, Lou, what's your score prediction for this weekend?
So I've been sitting on a Chiefs future for months now that I'm trying to decide if I'm going to hedge out of or not, but I probably won't. I'm going to say, what's the total on the game? I haven't looked at the total. No idea. What do you think? Talk about what you're thinking about. And then
I'm not crazy for
50 and
like picking teams because I don't know that much, but I mean, I would be hard pressed to believe that Mahomes loses the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be Chiefs like 27-24 Eagles.
That's about right. I was going to say like 30-27 seems right.
Yeah, maybe a little bit higher scoring than 27-24, but something within a few points and Chiefs coming on top. I mean, if Mahomes has the ball at the end of the game, I think they're going to win. So
it's kind of crazy that they probably should have lost, but that penalty at the end of the game changed everything. Anyway, hockey.
Yeah. There's a section on hockey here. If you're a big hockey fan, feel free to give it a read. Or if you're even not a big hockey fan, because this is more of a high level look at hockey. Talking about Pasternak, like we talked about, talking about McDavid and Ovechkin as well. So if you give it a scroll down here, we got our first graphic. Young Guns PSA 10s up 18% for both these players last 3 to 6 months. Small gains, but still gains nonetheless. And McDavid honestly is having a heck of a season. For those that don't know, he is on pace to become the third player ever to have 180 points or more in a season, joining Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, two of the best players of all time. Wow. Being the greatest. Yeah, he might be the third player ever to do it.
I didn't know that.
He is shattering the competition this year. I think he's at like 92 points at the All-Star break. Yeah, he is. The next closest is his teammate at like 70, and then the next closest to that has like 60 or something like that. Maybe I'm off on that, but it's something around that. He's just destroying the competition. It's not even close this year.
You watch a lot of hockey, right?
Oh, okay, so I watch it some. I don't watch like as much as other people for sure, but some.
Sure, but So there's been a lot of scoring, right? There's like a scoring explosion going on.
I mean, I feel like that. McDavid's got 41 goals at the break right now, and then there's 38 for Pastrnak, 35 for Jack Hughes, 34 for Tage.
That's a lot across the league. That's
a lot across the league, yeah. And average goals I feel like is definitely way higher. You see some teams scoring like 6-7 a night type of thing. Not
every
average, some nights.
No, it happens every night. There's some teams scoring 6.
So really quick for the points thing, so I don't sound like an idiot. McDavid's got 93, but then next closest is Drysdale at 76, but then Kucherov's got 75, Pastrnak 72. But to have like 7 or 20 more points than the next closest player on a different team is insane. That's absolutely insane.
Bananas.
And yeah, it's crazy. Sorry, I'm just gonna look. So the highest goals per game is 3.76 for Edmonton. This year, that's a lot. I feel
what was it 3 years ago?
I was just gonna go look. 3 years ago, the highest goals per game was like 3.47 with the Lightning. So still in the threes, but half
a little bit higher, not as high as I thought.
Half a goal a game. Back in 2014, though, it was 3.16, and back in 2007, it was 3.15. So it's somewhere around the 3. So now it's in the high threes.
Yeah. I don't even know who Jason Robertson is. Who is Jason Robertson?
Jason Robertson, he's like 23, 24 years old for the Stars, maybe 23, and he big breakout season. He's definitely top 10 in scoring right now for goals, and the Stars are also leading their division, and it's because of him, really. $388 for his Young Guns PSA 10, way higher than it was at the start of the season. Topped out like 600, though. The population probably has gained a lot since the
I was about to ask you what the pop is. Do you know?
So the population at the time it hit like 700, it was the population was like around 400, I think, and now it's up to 600.
PSA 10 pop is 600, PSA 9 pop is 677.
Yeah, but that population has probably doubled, or maybe not doubled, but it's gained a lot since it hit 600.
Yeah, pop growth on November 3rd of 2022, it was 326, and now it's 600.
Yeah,
so
it
literally doubled.
So that's what I wrote on Instagram when we put up a post after he had like an insane stretch. Like, hey, don't be surprised if this population doubles. It did, and now it got cut in half. So great lesson. If a player's card explodes and it seems like it's less population than other comparative players in the same set, expect it to get graded at a higher rate. Expect the prices to drop. That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what actually, we should probably do a video on that, Jen Court and Aaron. We could probably do like a collab video. That'd be a good one to do.
Go ahead. Definitely do it.
I don't really want to talk about Wembanyama. I'm over Wembanyama.
Yeah, no, there's no. If people want to read about,
it's a part of the market and it's important. Yeah.
If people want to read about what's to come in 2023/2024 products, please read Take 4 because I think we'll see some hype close to the Zion era or more for Wembanyama, and I think it could definitely help the market a lot too, especially with Connor Bedard for hockey as well.
I don't think it's possible to reach the Zion level because the Zion thing was like, I want to say 2 straight years of hype.
Yeah. I guess what the other thing, a factor is that the card market was hotter at the time that Zion came in.
And so it was like the fever pitch moment.
It was like a perfect storm, like lightning and ball type of thing. I just think for like a player standpoint, like the Wembanyama thing is definitely going to be around the Zion. Like, you got GMs talking about adding $500 million in value to a franchise, $500 million. That's crazy for just getting Wembanyama.
Yeah, who's it look like is going to get him right now? Houston has the best odds to get him.
It's three split odds between the Spurs, Pistons, and Rockets right now. The top 3 or bottom 3 teams all have the same odds to get the number 1 pick.
And Charlotte's only a game and a half back.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be a number of teams. Obviously,
Detroit would be cool, right? Could it be Cade and him?
Yeah, no, him and Detroit I think would be really awesome because
Houston would be good too, though. No.
Houston would be good with Jalen Green, yeah. And
I guess all of these options would be good for him.
Imagine him and Jabari Smith on the same team. That's a lot of.
Or Orlando, that'd be sick if it was.
Orlando is, they're stacked with young talent.
Paolo and Wembanyama.
Or lands on the Spurs with Greg Popovich.
Yeah, I mean that'd be kind of boring, but it would be like the best possible outcome for basketball, I would imagine.
Probably for him too, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, so feel free to read Take 4, 137pm.com. You can see a little bit of preview right now as Lou's scrolling. But we'll end it off here with LeBron. And yes, obviously this happened in February, so we'll have a bigger highlight for LeBron in the February market report. broke the scoring record. And, I think a lot of people for a long time were like, will his cards actually increase in value as he's getting to break the record? It happened. Topps Chrome base PSA 10 from 5,000 up to around 7,000 now. And from here, we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll recap in the February report that'll come out early March. But it's good to see, I think, some action for LeBron. I'm not a LeBron collector. I don't buy and sell LeBron cards. But I think for the overall market, it's good to see something like this after like 2 straight years of just like, how much has it dropped? How much has it dropped again? It's like, okay, there's a little bit of a bounce back.
Yeah, and it's also just a function of like the Lakers aren't very good. They haven't been very good for a while.
Yeah, multiple years now. Missed even the play-in last year.
Yeah, and they have that bubble title that I think no one recognizes as a real title. So
yeah, and also they just made a trade. They got D'Angelo Russell in, they got Malik Beasley in, and they got Jared Vanderbilt in. They got
rid of Russ. That's the most important part.
They got rid of Russ. I know a lot of people are salty about that from like a Russ standpoint because they're like, oh, he went down to the bench for the team to help the team be better. It's like, well, eventually you got to make a move. If you're just chilling in like 11th place in the West, like doing the same thing constantly, I feel like just isn't smart. So
yeah, and I don't know anything, but I feel like on the night when LeBron's trying to break the record, if you're taking fast breaks by yourself with LeBron right next to you, you're not long for the Lakers.
Yep, and we saw it. Trade did happen, but that's who's hot for this month, and probably maybe who's hot for February. Maybe it'll be different. We'll see. Baseball perspective, DeGrom went from the Mets to the Rangers. That's not nearly as big of a fan base.
Never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he doesn't stay healthy, you'll never hear from him again. But yeah. The values from here are definitely going to be predicated on can he stay healthy and can it increase in value. And this card right here is in the SlabStox 100. So as you can see, it's tagged as that in the graph. All right. Well, if anyone wants to figure out what card shows are coming up here, Burbank is coming up this weekend. Actually, it's starting tomorrow. There might be like a small preview tonight, but Nate will be there from our team. I won't be there. I will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This upcoming Saturday, the 11th, for a show in the Deer District. So if you're from the Midwest, come to the Deer District. It's in the Gather space, which is actually where NBA and ESPN was hosted when the Bucks were in the finals. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Hofstra's doing a show on Super Bowl Sunday.
That's a bold move. It's a bold move.
I might end up going out there, but bold move.
And then, of course, at the very end, February important product releases. Feel free to read through product releases. Just, I guess, to point out one.
Bowman Draft Sapphire, Top Series Baseball, I'm excited about. Bowman University Chrome Football, I think will be a big one.
Yeah, I would say, I'm excited about Revolution Premier League. That'll be very fun.
Yeah, actually a pretty solid month. And will be good for UFC.
The biggest one would be like the first 2023 Topps Baseball product dropping Series 1 on the 15th. So that's next
week. And who do they put on the cover? Did they announce it yet?
The card number 1 is Soto. Card number 1 is Soto. I don't know who's on the cover, though. Maybe Soto also.
Card number 1 is Soto. Cool.
So, yeah, I think they might pair the cover and the card number 1 together. That's it, though. That is it from my end. The only thing I have to say is if you want to take part in the surveys for the SlabStox 100, you either were hacked about something or happy about something, feel free to subscribe to the Daily Slab newsletter, SlabStox.com. It's right there as you go onto the website, put in your email, get the survey mid-March, then the one at the end of March, and we'll go from here, and we'll talk about each market report going forward.
Looking forward to it as always. Please contribute to the SlabStox 100. Please make sure we get some good engagement on that. I want to see some changes soon. Looking forward to it. Aaron, thank you to you and your team as always. Thank you for putting together this market report. I know it's a lot of work. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Court. And that'll be it for us this month. We'll see you next time. Peace and love.
Thanks, everyone.